Greetings, friends. Reformed Stoic here, back with another video. A little bit of a lighter-hearted topic now. Try to get through it quick. It's really late, and nobody really asked for this video, but I figure there's like a few angles you could look at it from where you might get some enjoyment out of it. I have covered the topic in passing a number of times, mainly on stream. I've kind of brushed over it in a few different videos, talking about the music changing, the mainstream music trends, the transition from like the MTV pop punk emo craze to the 2007 Lil Wayne, Lil Jon hip hop fad. That was a really brutal transition in my life. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, it's more so when I look back on it. It just kind of bums me out to think of that change. And 2007 being the iPhone, MySpace was already around for a couple of years, but for whatever reason, MySpace just wasn't that big of a deal. It was when Facebook showed up that things really started to become ugly. Like, the social media really just snuck up on us. But I don't know where you stand as the viewer with like pop punk and emo music. A lot of people weren't crazy about that. I know, because I got a lot of crap for liking that music. I was also a very small lad around the time when that music was big. I remember I was at like it was like a talent show at the teen center here, and people were yelling out requests, and I yelled out, "Play Sum 41!" And some older kid was like, "Sum 41 sucks." So I'm trying to think of like what you listened to if you were cooler than me at the time. I feel like the cooler guys were into like just more punk rock, more pure punk, like Casualties. No Effects was kind of a little bit in between. They were old school pop punk. Fat Mike had Fat Records, and then Epitaph Records. He actually ended up putting on a lot of those later emo bands. The first concert I ever went to was at Portland, Oregon at the Meow Meow Club. I saw the Epitaph tour. It had From First to Last, back when they had Sonny Moore on vocals, who became Skrillex. The Matches, Motion City Soundtrack. Their instruments weren't working, so they had to do an acoustic set, but that was great. I got to meet them. Matchbook Romance. I feel like there's one that I'm missing. No, maybe that was it. From First to Last, The Matches, Motion City Soundtrack, Matchbook Romance. Anyway, yeah, so I wanted to just kind of paint you a picture starting from when I was in about 6th grade to just kind of my optimism for life and embracing the culture of the suburban, white, pop, punker, emo, teeny bopper teen. Okay? Started in the 6th grade. A friend of mine, it started a little bit before 6th grade, okay? My neighbor was this Mormon chick. She got me Hybrid Theory from Linkin Park for my birthday in 5th grade. And then I believe it was that same birthday that I got All Killer No Filler from Sum 41 from a friend of mine. He was actually more like a friend of a friend. But that was the times like you're like a little kid and you have little kid birthdays where like all kinds of people show up and they all bring you gifts. So it started with Hybrid Theory from Linkin Park and All Killer No Filler from Sum 41. I absolutely just played those records to death. I would start learning how to play drums like the next year. I remember the moment when I first realized like what the drums were in music. A lot of people don't even really like know what drums are in music. I remember my little sister was like, "Oh, there's no drums in this album." She had like the Lindsay Lohan album. She's like, "Oh, there's no drumming in this." It's like, yeah, there is. Everything has drums. The first time I ever recognized the sound of a bass drum in music was listening to Linkin Park. And so two of my friends, they were all about Blink-182, and then I was all about Sum 41. And we had this kind of little like losery, like, no, Sum 41's the best, no, Blink-182's the best. But, you know, eventually over time, I would kind of admit that Blink-182 was the best. Always loved Sum 41. Man, it was great when Does This Look Infected came out. Great, super underrated album. I played that one to death. So when we're talking middle school, we're talking Sum 41, Blink-182, and then Simple Plan, Good Charlotte. I had a Good Charlotte sweater that I bought from Hot Topic. I remember the first time I ever walked into a Hot Topic in the mall in Anchorage. The song that was playing was You Are Sweet 666 in my heart from him. And there's like all the weird goth kids, and I was like, what, 4 foot? That was in 7th grade. I was 4'9", like 70 pounds. And the way I walked into the Hot Topic was like, and there's like tall kids with chains and nose piercings. You're sweet 666 in my heart. I was scared. I thought Hot Topic was really scary. And I bought this awesome Good Charlotte sweater that had a red motorcycle on it. I feel like Good Charlotte kind of holds up for me, like, not the best. I'll have to give that album another playthrough. I mean, I like that song, The Anthem. I like covering that on drums. Lifestyles of the rich and the famous. They're always complaining, money's such a problem. Well, they got mansions, think we should rob them. That's kind of a based song, how you should rob rich people. And then, girls don't like boys, girls like cars and money. Girls will laugh at boys when they're not funny. Like, that's pretty true, dude. So some of their singles were pretty based. But Simple Plan actually holds up way better for me. We recently had kind of a Simple Plan phase on my stream. But anyway, trying to brush through that, the big changing moment for me, and it's actually kind of blowing my mind, because it was in 7th grade. I had a military friend in 7th grade. He was this tall dude. He had dyed black hair. And he also played drums, and we were in bands together. And I went to hang out with him and his older brother. His older brother was in high school, and he played guitar. And him and his brother would play music together, and they used, like, Fruity Loops, and they would record, and they had a studio at home, and they made original music, and it was already, like, kind of good, and they're super creative and talented. And he was ultimately, like, a lot more mature than I was. This guy is, like, the indie kid, okay? Everybody who grew up in this time probably knows some guy who has, like, scene hair, and he's got, like, a picture with his hair covering his eyes, and then you go to his bio, and he lists, like, a bajillion bands, and, like, you've barely heard of any of them. He was that kind of a guy. And he turned me on to so much music, because he's like, what do you listen to, bro? I was like, Blink-182 and Simple Plan and Sum 41. He's like, oh, dude, all those bands are, like, kind of lame, like, really popular. Check out Finch. He showed me Finch. I'd already had another friend who showed me, like, Newfound Glory, Rufio, Phoenix TX. Took me a little bit deeper, but still not very deep. That guy was my friend from the summer of 6th grade to 7th grade. But then this military guy turned me on to Census Fail, Finch, the Early November. I mean, a lot of those bands ended up being popular. Like, eventually, those bands would be popular, but we're talking, like, when I was in 7th grade, so this is, like, late 2003, early 2004, he's turning me on to all these kind of, like, early 2000s emo bands. Armor for Sleep. He said Armor for Sleep was his favorite band. And so he kind of set that fire inside of me. He showed me, like, purevolume.com, and he would move, because military families are always moving all over the place. So he would move at the end of that year, and he kind of turned me on to this like emo music. And then the next year, I was actually playing in this like Nirvana cover band. And there was this big drama, there was a showdown, because I wanted to play this concert called The Sock Full of Steel. And that was a really cool time, because they were all high schoolers, and I was in 8th grade playing drums. And there was kind of like these rumors and whispers about me. It's like, oh man, I hear they have a drummer who's an 8th grader, but he's really good. And I had dyed black hair at the time. Actually, eventually I bleached the shit out of my hair and ruined it, and that actually might have even contributed to me going bald a little bit earlier than I should have. My girlfriend bleached my hair. That's like the one time I ever had a girlfriend, was in 8th grade when I kind of played in this Nirvana cover band. The only shows they ever played was like a couple of talent shows, and they actually had a different drummer. But I started like low-key rehearsing with them, and I'd hang out with them all the time, and that caused some kind of drama with their other drummer. And then when I wanted to play with this emo cover band called Winter's Apathy, they're like, who's it gonna be, bro? Them or us? Because emo fucking sucks, dude. And I chose the emo band because, I really did like Nirvana. Like, I deeply got into Nirvana in 8th grade when I was hanging out with those guys. But at the same time, that's when Vans Warped Tour 2004 came out. That's when I discovered like Amber Pacific. I had an Amber Pacific t-shirt, and the teachers thought that was a beer. And they'd be like, that shirt's a beer, you need to take that off, you can't wear that. I was like, no, it's a band. And they called me a liar, and they told me I was lying, and I can't believe your parents let you wear that beer shirt. And it kind of sounds like it could be a beer. It probably is a beer. Amber Pacific, that definitely sounds like a beer. But it's also a band that was on Vans Warped Tour. And from first to last, so that was in 8th grade when my dad took me to Portland to go see the Epitaph tour. Had my first girlfriend, pretty much my only girlfriend ever. It was only flings after that. So most of 8th grade was hanging out with these guys in the Nirvana cover band. But then near the end of the 8th grade was when I played that show, The Sock Full of Steel, in Winter's Apathy. And that's when I met my first one-itis. This chick was a year older than me, and she played bass. Like, she was going to play bass in this band. And we ended up hanging out a lot that summer, and then I eventually asked her out, and she said no, and I got friend-zoned and all that crap. But, man, Winter's Apathy, we played, like, Watch the World from Boxcar Racer. We played What It Is to Burn from Finch, Perfection Through Silence from Finch. We played some Taking Back Sunday, You Know How I Do. So sick of being tired, and oh so tired of being sick. We played Census Fail 187, and my mom works at the Women's Resource Center. Like, people kind of call it the Battered Women's Shelter, which is a little bit derogatory, but there would be these like scheduled tours from the health class to go talk to my mom, and she would like explain to them how the Women's Resource Center would work. And she told them a story. My son plays in this band, and they play a really violent song that's like, I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna kill you! About how, like, you kill your girlfriend, and I hate that my son is involved in that. And all these people would, like, laugh at me, like, bro, your mom's talking about how your band, like, plays violent music. Anyway, this is about as ranty and rambly as this can possibly get, because I'm trying to, like, fast forward. So that was a really special time for me. I stopped hanging out with these weird, like, poser Nirvana wannabe guys. That freaking guy who was like the leader of the Nirvana cover band, he ended up having a hit list, and apparently I was on his hit list, and I told my mom, and she went and made a fuss about it at the school, and she got him fucking expelled from school, dude. He ended up getting expelled, and I think that's maybe part of why his family moved. I don't know, but he was also military. Sure are a lot of interesting military kids out there who had a lot of influence on me, but anyway, so this is what I consider, you guys, the most nostalgic period of my life. What I'm about to describe right here. The summer between 8th grade and freshman year, I was playing this emo music with these older guys who were already in high school. That one-itis chick was hanging around. Me and her were becoming besties. You know, me and her hanging out alone in my room. And I'm fueled by all this emo music. I want you to be my girlfriend, but I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, I just look back on those times. And in the beginning of my freshman year, this is a time when there's like a lot of regret. Because there was other girls around, some older girls who liked me. And I swear that girl who friend zoned me, she was saying, oh, you shouldn't go out with this chick because she likes a lot of different guys and she's kind of slutty. It's like, yeah, well, that's kind of true, but who cares, dude? I should have had this chick being slutty with me because she was into me. And then that girl's younger sister was also into me. You know, not like creepy younger. Like I was a freshman. This girl was a sophomore. Her younger sister was in 8th grade. There was a lot of girls, actually, who liked me when I was a freshman in high school. And I had really long, shitty bleached hair. Nobody was making comments that I was going bald yet, though. A couple of people kind of were like, dude, I think, like, you have a shitty hairline. But overall, I had this long, ugly, scraggly hair, and I played drums, and I hung around older guys and played in an emo cover band. And, you know, there would be girls who I had crushes on, and we'd be in a class, and people are talking about music they like. And I remember this girl was like, oh, my favorite band is Yellow Card. And I'm like, there's the girl that I like. And she likes Yellow Card, and I also like Yellow Card, and it just seemed like that music was really accessible. That's what was on MTV. That was the soundtrack to, like, teen movies. I think in the movie Not Another Teen Movie, I think Good Charlotte was the band that was playing at the house. And then, like, Blink-182 had a cameo in American Pie. And then, Simple Plan, I'm just a kid and my life is a nightmare. That was the song for The New Guy. That whole time for me was just magical. Like, I wasn't getting laid, but I was still, like, too young to even really want to. Dude, my first girlfriend was, like, kind of slutty, and she would have been all about it, dude. My first girlfriend would have been all about it. I remember, like, I was writing her an email. I was like, I don't think we should go any further than we went because I don't want you to get pregnant. I think she was starting to catch on that I was like a total puss. But I swear, dude, women like you more before you become a horn dog. When you're like this little innocent guy, women are trying to like dangle it in front of you, bro. And I guess the key is to be this like little innocent guy and then be like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna go get some pussy. Like, you know, you get the girlfriend who thinks you're all innocent. And then you'd be like, okay, I think I'm ready. And they'll be totally into it, dude. They'll be totally into it. But once the hormones kick in, and once it's obvious that, like, you're trying to get girls into bed, that's when the whole Chad factor kicks in. I had some of that, like, goody two-shoes, goody boy, and women were about it. And, oh, man, so now we're starting to get pretty close to the depressing part. The point of this video is to just kind of paint this picture of how magical this time was for me. My best friend, who is my neighbor, who I've talked about in the past before, I'm going to refrain from saying his name, but I think maybe some of you can guess who it is. That's the sound I make when I say his name. Bro, me and him listen to the same music. He's the one who showed me Linkin Park. Like, maybe in the first year or two when I was at his house, he was showing me Linkin Park. He was one of the guys who was really into Blink-182, and I was into Sum 41, but I was also into Blink-182, and he was also into Sum 41. He would go into Pure Volume. Like, man, some of bands that I still really like. Like, there's this band, oh, My Former Self. Okay. Oh my gosh, that took so long. I went on the CD shelf and I couldn't find it. My Former Self. Anyway, the whole point is that, like, nobody's heard of that band. That's a band that, like, never made it. I bought their CD off of Amazon, and me and my friend were talking to him on, like, Pure Volume, or I think on MySpace. There was a MySpace chat. Man, it's all coming back now. There was MySpace all the way back when I was in, like, 8th grade and freshman year. But anyway, the whole point is that me and my neighbor, my best friend, all of my friends, we pretty much listened to the same music. And then we get to like my sophomore year, and I'm really involved in the jazz band in the high school. And the jazz band kids are more into metal. So there's this awkward phase with me and my neighbor friend where he was starting to get more into like Sublime, and I was kind of like, oh man, you listen to rap music? He's like, oh, I guess Sublime is like kind of like rap, but not really. We still listen to a lot of the same music, but he was starting to branch out more towards like Sublime. And I remember the first rap he was ever listening to was DMX. While I was starting to get into like Dragon Force and Stradivarius, and I was showing my friends like Manowar, Power Metal, Symphony X. I was getting into this like kind of power metal. And what happened was I was reading Modern Drummer magazine, and I read an interview from the drummer Kevin Talley. He played in like Suffocation. He played with Dying Fetus. And I was like, wow, Dying Fetus, Suffocation. I never heard of these kind of bands before. So that's when I started to hear about death metal. And I heard about Nile. And I talked about it with some people in jazz band. And this guy comes back the next day. He's like, dude, I checked out Dying Fetus and it's sick. And so that was actually starting in my freshman year. I remember we were already kind of like flirting around with some death metal my freshman year of high school, but I didn't really listen to it. Every now and then I'd be like, yo, check this out. And people would be like, oh, dude, do you listen to this kind of stuff? I'd be like, nah, dude, but listen to how crazy the drumming is. That it was actually that same military guy who sent me a video of Derek Roddy in the studio recording for Hate Eternal, playing Behold Judas. And that's like, I mean, the first time I ever saw blast beats was 260 BPM, which is like fast today. Like right now, I can't blast for long periods of time at 260 BPM. Just crazy fast. I think I remember that song. Like, first time I ever saw Derek Roddy playing blast beats, I was like, this isn't human. This is insane. This is like nothing I've ever seen before. And it's the kind of drumming where you go sit on the drums and try to do it, and it's like, I can't even close to do that. So I was basically just like mesmerized by death metal drumming. And it would be kind of like my freshman year, dude, this is weird, check this out. My sophomore year, these power metal guys are like, yeah, you know, that Behemoth is like pretty cool, dude, but do you actually listen to that? Like, that's pretty weird, bro. And because these guys were Christians. I was actually going to these like Christian Baptist pizza Wednesdays, and on Mondays we'd go to somebody's house, and I was kind of just tagging along with my Christian friends to this stuff. I was in a very different place back then. You know, they'd be like, you know, everybody put down your heads and close your eyes, raise your hand if you want to come to the Lord. And I'd kind of like open my eyes and look around and like judge people. And I was like a preachy, arrogant atheist guy back then. That's the kind of guy I was. But trying to wrap it up here, guys, because somehow I'm going to edit out a lot of stuff because I was looking for that CD. But so when we get to the sophomore year, I'm starting to get more into metal as I hang out with these jazz band people and get deeper into drumming and music. And it must have been near the end of my sophomore year, near the beginning of my junior year, pretty much like at the very beginning of my junior year is when I started smoking weed and drinking. It was the summer because I went to band camp. I played in a Coheed and Cambria cover band with a girl that I like dated for a little bit, not really. But the people who were in my Coheed and Cambria cover band, we went to band camp that summer, Sitka Fine Arts Camp, and then we were all hanging out that summer, and I drank for the first time at one of those friends' houses. And then I smoked weed with one of those guys and another dude out in the woods the first time that summer. So, and then all of my friends who were my jazz band friends, had graduated by that point. And so now it's my junior year. I'm smoking weed and drinking for the first time. And all of a sudden my friends, who I always listened to emo music with and pop punk and had all these memories with, all of a sudden they're arguing over who's the fireman. Fireman, fireman. You can spark it up when I'ma put you out. You can spark it up when I can put you out. And like Lil Jon is playing, and like when I made the mistake of going to a school dance, Snapper Fagels, do you step? You can do it all by yourself. Let me see you do it. Hey! And it was like, it was alien to me. Bro, it was alien to me. These people had been my friends since middle school. Like, I played a talent show, my neighbor was playing bass, and this other guy who was in Winter's Apathy was singing and playing guitar. Dude, we played the talent show when I was in 7th grade, and we played... what is that song? Look so fine that you really want to make your mind. 1, 2, 3, take your hand and come with me, because you look so fine that you really want to make your mind. Like, bro, we listened to so much music together for so long. And then, like, I'm smoking weed for the first time, and I'm drinking, and all of a sudden, everything's Lil Wayne, everything's Lil Jon. I'm a TRAPSTR, big shoes on the car, she likes it. Hey, play on, trap all day, play all night. This is the life of a go getter, go getter. Like, all this freaking music just came out of nowhere. And I'm just like, do we have to listen to this? And it was weird, man, because they were all about it. Like, they were all about it. And in summary, pop punk was a fad. Emo was a fad. But that music was, like, good. And I feel like the kind of people who gave me shit for liking it was like, can you guys at least admit that it was instruments? Like, it was bands playing instruments. And, you know, maybe, like, you meet a girl who's an emo girl and she likes My Chemical Romance, and then your band is, like, a metal band or a different kind of band. She's like, okay, a band. You're a bass player. I listen to bands. I know what a bass player is. You're a drummer. I listen to bands with a drummer. So, you know, maybe she likes emo music, but you're a freaking bass player or drummer or singer in more of like a rock band or a punk band or a metal band. And women are still going to dig that. Like, chicks dug guys in bands. Your friends listened to music. When you're hanging out, people were listening to bands. And then all of a sudden, everything was like driving around in cars, listening to Lil Wayne, and freaking hated Lil Wayne to have a lot of music. Like, The Drought, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, what's it called? The Carter 1, Carter 2, Carter 3, Carter 4. So much freaking music from him, dude. And, I look back on some of it. I kind of like Young Jeezy now. I like Jeezy's overdubs. Like, yeah, we trap or die. I kind of dig some of that stuff. I love rapping over Jeezy beats. But now when you're starting to wonder, like, so how did I become a rapper? How did I start rapping? Well, I was the musician. And, you know, when you're a musician, you're kind of doing it for attention. Everybody listens to emo, pop punk, and that was the kind of stuff I was drumming to. And then everybody's listening to rap. And it's like, okay, well, if this is the kind of music that people are about now, I want to be a part of this. And what I did was I sampled the song Boston. I think the band was called Augustina. There's like I sampled that little piano part and I made a beat out of it on GarageBand and I rapped over it. I did it all in one sitting. And I uploaded it to MySpace, and everybody was talking about it the next day, bro. Like, everybody had heard that shit the next day. Back when, like, I was accepted on social media. And it's something, this could be a different video, but something about MySpace versus Facebook. Like, seriously, bro, I was not blowing it on MySpace. I was very accepted socially on MySpace. Something about how Facebook was. And what I would say it is that in MySpace, you have your own profile. For the most part, people had to be like, what's going on with Jake? And click on your profile. And whatever I had posted was a part of my profile. But now Facebook there's the feed. And you make a status that goes into a feed that pops up in front of all of your friends. Something about that is like more invasive, to where like when you say something weird, it pops up in somebody's face. They're like, ugh, how dare you? How dare like your weird status pop up in my face? So, but that's pretty much it, man. And you know, right around that time was like, now I'm going to parties. Now it's becoming evident that like women are just giving it away. Like there's really hot girls just getting loaded and sneaking off into a back room with a guy, and then you hear the next day, yeah, dude, like she blew him in his truck last night, or bro, he had a three-way with these two chicks last night, or yeah, man, he hit that shit last night. And you're just like, oh wow, like that kind of like smashes my little pop punk dreams, you know, a little, I saw her face in a crowded place and I don't know what to do. You're just like getting your little emo heart broken. You know, you hear some like emo song when you look at a girl for the first time, and California, and then somebody's like, yeah, dude, like she got a train ran on her last night while Lil Wayne was playing. So that's pretty much it, dude. Somebody said in my chat today, like, bro, just make videos where you ramble in front of a camera. That's what people want to see. There you go. I don't know if you got anything out of that. I don't know if anybody wanted to see that, but I brush over that period of time a lot. It's been like a little Lego piece and a lot of different videos, and it covers a lot of ground, man. Like it's more than just my nostalgia. Like when people are having the threads online, when did the decline begin? You know, we're talking like 2007, Obama's presidency, and putting a big emphasis on the culture and the rap music, man. Like, this is when women went from being emo queens, like, you know, looking at the ground, like, wanting you to talk to them at a concert, or, like, a room where freaking Fall Out Boy is playing, to, like, staring at their phones, being hypergamous, man. Like, I swear, the hip-hop culture bleeding into pop music, Lil Jon, Crunk, Soulja Boy, Lil Wayne. That was it, bro. Like, for me, my perspective is that was really ushering in the new era, the new age. Everybody was on this pop punk trend. Everybody was on this emo trend. If you weren't trendy, you were one of those kids who listened to, like, The Doors and AC/DC and Jimi Hendrix, or you were still listening to newer music, but it was more like the Casualties and Rancid. You know, I still need to get more versed in like some of those cooler punk bands from around that time that I wasn't really into. I was into the emo shit, dude. I loved it. I still love it. As I started to get sucked into death metal, because that's what happened. I was like, wow, everybody around me is like getting all obsessed with rap, so I just got brainwashed by death metal. Dude's like, well, I might as well try to figure out how to play double bass at like 280 BPM, which I never really did. I mean, that's really fast, bro. Hate Eternal, I could never... It did get to a point where I was kind of covering that song by Hate Eternal, which is like long periods of 260 BPM. Like, I was a pretty well-respected tech death drummer on the East Coast, man. After I got out of Berkeley, I played in tech death bands. I was the guy where people are like, man, I can't find a drummer fast enough. You know, we play at like 230, 240, 250. A lot of these drummers are pretty smart and good, but I can't really find Berkeley drummers who can blast at like 240 BPM. Yo, you know who you need to call? This dude from Alaska, man, Jake Shields. He can blast like a motherfucker. So... But what happened is, as I started to becoming this autist that I am now, it's like, you know, all that death metal music was kind of just like spurgy, brainwashing, satanic dog shit that like led me into the occult and fucked up my life. I wouldn't say it screwed up my life. Ultimately, what screwed up my life was leaving Boston and going to Vegas. But that little void of isolation that I entered, it just really kind of brought me back to like, you know what, man? I like to think back to who I was before I became a rapper, before I got sucked into death metal. I always go back to the summer of 2004, summer of 2005, summer of 2006. Emo, man. If you check out my top 30 albums, you can see like a lot of my favorite bands from that period of time. The guy who played guitar, Filipino dude who played guitar in that band I was in, Winter's Apathy, he died, man. He was visiting the Philippines and he got chased off of a cliff. That's like right around the time I was going to college. Last I heard from him, he's like, yo, dude, where are you going to college, bro? Or he was asking, other people were telling me this, that he was asking about me, and they're like, yeah, he's going to Berkeley, bro. He's like, dude, Berkeley, I'm going to see him, dude. Because he was going to be in California. He thought Berkeley, California, like a lot of people do. A lot of people spell it that way. He's like, dude, Berkeley, I'm going to see him, dude. I'm going to jam with Jake Shields. But it was Berklee College of Music in Boston. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's so symbolic for me that he died, because he was just such a cool guy, man. People called him the emo king. I remember seeing him sit in the hall. He was like really dramatically playing acoustic guitar, playing Dashboard Confessional with a mouth like a sailor. I don't even remember the song. And this video is just kind of like an eruption, vomiting of nostalgia, man, because it all, like Newfound Glory, it's all downhill from here. It was all downhill, man. My junior year, weed, drinking, starting to get into death metal, starting to get into rap. I was in a car with one of my friends with his mom, and the song Industrial Revolution by Immortal Technique came on. The bling bling era was cute, but it's about to be done. I'll leave you full of clips like the moon blocking the sun. My metaphors are dirty like herpes, but harder to catch. Like an escape tunnel in prison. I started from scratch, and all these parasites want a percent on my ass cap. Trying to control perspective like an acid flashback. But here's a portable for every single record exec. Get your fucking hands out my pocket, N-word like Malcolm X. That's when I started to get into rap, dude. I was like, oh man, this is like some intellectual kind of rap. And I guess you could say that was the very beginning. I'm always trying to find my first red pilling moment or thing that got me into conspiracy theories. On a very early incarnation of that, Immortal Technique. He was on some woke shit. Like George Bush flying planes into the Twin Towers. He talked about MK Ultra. He talked about like the CIA making crack and stuff. So, it's just all downhill from there, man. You know, I think I've made other videos. Yeah, like my party video. This is like a good prequel to when I made the video about partying, you know? If like after this video ends, go watch the partying video again, and it's like the same thing. I don't know why you'd want to watch that rant twice. Hey, maybe you do. By all means do, but that is like everything that led up to me getting sucked into the party scene, man. And when I think back on good times, most of it is before partying. You know, sophomore year was very particular. That was really felt like a transitional phase. That's when my friends were all like seniors. I was a sophomore. I was really involved in like jazz band, chamber ensemble, music, nerd stuff. But yeah, like a big catalyst was my older friends graduated, and I started hanging out with the guys a year younger than me, and they were all a party crowd. That's pretty much it, guys. Pop punk, fad. Emo, fad. Rap music, fad. Ultimately, the people who were around me were just kind of trendy people who just jump on fads. But it felt real, man. It felt real, and I go back and I listen to the pop punk music, and I listen to the emo music. Some of the emo music is amazing. Like Further Seems Forever's first album, to this day, is like one of my favorite albums ever, man. The drummer from Strong Arm is on it. They got like real ties to hardcore. The guitar player Chad, whatever, in Newfound Glory, he was in Shai Hulud, which is like one of the best hardcore bands ever, and that's why he got that chick from Paramore to be his girlfriend, dude. She knows what's up. Chad Gilbert. Yeah, man. I could just go on and on and on and on. Maybe kind of a weird video for my catalog, but there you go. Maybe that's some ASMR. Put this on in the background or something. It's too late now. You already heard the rant. God bless. See you on the next one.